As the founder of a social network, and one that can get fairly political, I wanted to do an explainer video about some of the problems with algorithmic or machine learning, or if you want to call it AI-based moderation or content flagging systems, because I think there are issues around this which no one's really talked about, and how, especially around political content, you can have biases built into the system. And this is also why we might think that Twitter or Facebook are kind of lean left, because inherently in how the systems are built, this builds some left-leaning problems into moderation systems. So first of all, let me just explain how exactly these algorithm-based flagging systems usually work. What happens is you have loads and loads of posts from lots and lots of people, and then these posts, when they're dodgy or they're bad or someone's outraged by them, get reported to some central system. So you've probably seen this on Facebook, you've seen it on Twitter, you can report posts. Then Facebook or Twitter, probably with some of their employees, decide if that content is bad or if it isn't. Now the problem comes from starting to build this into these kind of AI systems for detecting this content, because almost always what happens is they take thousands and thousands of previously bad posts, ones that have been marked as bad or as having explicit content or unacceptable content, and then they feed this into the machine to teach it exactly what bad content looks like. And then, based off of the previous past bad content, you start flagging new content automatically, or the algorithm does that for you. So what's the big, huge problem with this system? Well, what do people actually report as bad posts, and what kind of people report bad posts? People who are very easily outraged by certain types of content are a lot more likely to start reporting content. Problem number one. Problem number two, depending on which political side you're on and at what point you are in history, you might be much more likely to take action or be an activist. Right now, I think I'm not saying anything outrageous by saying that the left is a lot more likely to be activists, to take action, to group together to try and achieve their political ends. So in this way, they are also much more likely to be active on a platform, and they're much more likely to be policing content on a platform. So what does this mean in terms of the algorithm? Well, it means that a lot more of the content that's posted and that's posted by people on the right that the left might think is outrageous or might think that is unacceptable gets reported to these systems. This means that over time, these systems are going to be a lot more prone to flagging types of content that left-wing activists have flagged in the past. And this means that these algorithms are being trained to flag right-wing content a lot more than they're being trained to flag weird left-wing content that should be flagged. I think this is a massive problem, and it's a result of how we rely on algorithms and on machines to do our work for us. And I've never seen a discussion about this before, and I think it's a big problem. Now, setting aside politics completely, the people who are easily outraged, who have a really low threshold for controversial views, let's call them snowflakes, they're going to be the ones who are reporting the most content to Facebook or Twitter. So if you're using your previous data set to train these algorithms, you are going to create a moderation algorithm or artificial intelligence, which is like a snowflake, like someone who is outraged really easily. And this is the second problem, that you're just not going to be able to handle controversial views because you've trained your algorithms on the views of snowflakes who are outraged really easily. And I think this is another massive problem with these systems, and you can see this happening all the time, is that they just can't handle controversial views because you've basically built systems off of the views of people who are outraged very easily. So putting these two things together, I think this creates two massive problems. If you're relying on previous data sets to build these moderation systems. First of all, I think in the current environment, you are definitely going to have a lot more left-wing reporting of content, and therefore always going to have a lot more right-wing content flagged. This is going to build systems, this is going to build biases into your systems from the start. And you're also going to build systems which just can't handle or don't want to handle controversial views, because you've based your data off people who are outraged all the time.